All right. We are live. A lot to go over. If you live in the city of Philadelphia like myself, then you already know what's up. When you first heard this story, you pretty much knew what was up. You knew that it was no way that they got away with this and broke out a state road without a little bit of help. Now, the public hasn't been made aware of who helped them from the inside, but we do know who helped these two guys get out from the outside. We do know that. But again, the biggest story is going to be about who helped them get out on the inside. I want to get into this clip because one of the guys, Nasir Grant, actually, he got caught last night. And the crazy thing is he had an 18-hour head start. From what I understand, he had an 18-hour head start. And he didn't make it that far away from the prison. I mean, it's literally like 30 minutes away from the prison. But I'm going to play this clip real quick about the breaking news about one of the prisoners getting captured last night.
Thursday night, and the big story on Action News is breaking news. Action News has just learned that one of the two inmates who escaped from the Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center in Holmesburg 5 days ago has been caught tonight. Sources confirmed that Nasir Grant was captured this evening in Strawberry Mansion. The 24-year-old was being held on narcotics and gun violations. Police are still searching for 18-year-old Amin Hurst, who's accused of killing 4 people. All
right, so right off the back, you got one guy who, for the most part, life is pretty much already over. I mean, Amin Hurst, I remember when that story was first happening around here in Philly. And there was a lot of killings going on, a lot of murders going on in the city. And come to find out, one of the alleged biggest murderers in the city was a 16-year-old hitman. Like, now, I remember being 16, and I remember how crazy life was for myself. But, I mean, for the most part, cats ain't got 4 bodies under their belt at 16. Like, that's abnormal. That's abnormal. I've seen cats as young as 13 take a life. Don't get it twisted, but at 16 having 4 bodies under, like, just think about that. That's what you're dealing with right there. You're dealing with someone who he's barely past puberty. Barely. Like, could you imagine what life had to have been for like a young man like this to, at the age of 16, allegedly kill 4 people? And that's the ones that they know about. Think about how many people he didn't get caught killing. Like you really got to think about the circumstances with this kid, Amin Hurst. So I understand why he saw a weakness in the Philadelphia prison system and he exploited it. I understand why because this kid probably wasn't going to see another light of day before he escaped. His fate was pretty much already sealed. I mean, it would have took a hell of a fucking Hail Mary in court for this kid to actually live a life of freedom, like an illusion of freedom, ever again. But Nasir Grant, now, gun and drug charges is serious. It is serious, but I mean, I don't think he was under no kingpin stature. I don't think that he was facing like a mandatory 25. It wasn't even like it was a conspiracy. Like he's a part of like a large RICO investigation or nothing like that. He just has some guns and drug charges. Him escaping this county prison probably caused him more time than what he's going to get for that gun and drug charge. I could just tell you right now. I could tell you right now. I mean, even as a convicted felon, getting caught with a gun, you might get a 3 to 5, depending on what happened when you got caught with the gun. Was it used as an instrument to cause bodily harm or what? If it's just a simple possession and possession of some narcotics, like max probably like 10 years. But this escape charge, he basically traded 2 days, 2 nights, probably for like 25 years, man. Because they're gonna put this on top of what he's already being charged for. So that right there tells you how lopsided this whole thing is. Like, Amin Hurst, like, is he that much of a criminal mastermind that he can manipulate a man much older than him and throwing his life away like he already did his? Wow. Let's continue.
He's still on the run. The two escaped Sunday evening. It's not yet clear how police tracked down Grant, but let's take a live look from Chopper 6 right now over the scene of the arrest. This is the 2900 block of Dauphin Street in Strawberry Mansion. You can see a heavy police presence here. Of course, we'll bring you the very latest on this arrest, but once again, one of the 2 inmates who escaped over the weekend from a Philadelphia prison is in custody tonight. We'll continue to follow this breaking news story on air. And
so I'm familiar with both areas. I'm familiar with the prisons on State Road, which is like further northeast in Philadelphia, and the Strawberry Mansion section, which is like the top part of North Philly, like the lower part of North Philly. I'm sorry. Like, you're just leaving West Philly going into North. That's like the Strawberry Mansion area. But the distance, walking is probably like anywhere from like an hour and a half. Driving is probably about 20 to 30 minutes. And again, he had an 18-hour head start because they didn't know that these guys had escaped until the next afternoon. They escaped Sunday night, and prison officials didn't notice that they had 2 missing people until 3 o'clock Monday afternoon. So they had a lot of time. They had a lot of time to really, I mean, you could reach the Atlantic Ocean from where they left in Philadelphia. You could reach the Atlantic Ocean, like South Jersey. You could reach there in about hour and a half, 15 minutes. How did this guy only get to Strawberry Mansion? And that's not even a half, because apparently when they caught him, he was dressed up in overgarments, like he was a woman, a Muslim Islamic woman. So that's how he was trying to disguise himself and, I guess, hide out in the open, because there is a large community of Muslims here in Philadelphia, and you could blend in. But obviously the police got a tip. They got a $25,000 reward on these 2 people's head. $25,000. It's not life-changing money, but there's a lot of people here in Philly that could use $25,000. A lot of people. You get somebody $25,000 right now, the beginning of May, they might believe that they're going to have a beautiful summer up until July. You know, about halfway through June, July, that money's gone. That money's gone. And they right back at square one. So yeah, you got that type of price on your head, you got to be completely incognito. But I'm more interested to find out, what was the plan? Like, how did the whole thing manifest into them actually escaping and getting an 18-hour head start? because there's another part of the story that came out yesterday. Hold on, let me pull that video up. So, according to the investigators, these two had help in escaping the Philadelphia County Prison. I'm gonna go ahead and play this video
Head
right
to
here
Michael's for everything to make a gift for mom,
so we can
and
get
save
an
$10
idea
when you spend $40 or more.
of what
now
happened.
May
Hold
13th.
on. You know, YouTube like to play ads.
Tonight in the ongoing search for two escaped inmates. Philadelphia police tell Action News tonight that a 21-year-old woman, Yanni Stallings, has now been arrested, accused of helping the fugitives plot their prison break. The question now, does she know where they are? Action News reporter John Paul live outside that facility in Holmesburg. John, you've got the latest details.
Mind you, right? So she got caught. News came out about her getting caught up in this. Probably came out about like yesterday afternoon. I want to say around like 2 o'clock. A little bit after, like, probably not even 24 hours ago. But Nasir Grant was captured around 9-10 o'clock last night. So 6 hours after they charged this woman, Miss Stallings, for aiding and abetting fugitives, one of the fugitives is tracked down and brought into custody.
Details tonight.
Yeah, and Brian, that's a question. Another question, how did she know these two? You know, we're learning a lot more about Yanni Stallings tonight. And the most revealing, sources are telling us she just got out of this very same prison earlier this year, and now she's accused of helping two men escape. As the search for Amin Hurst and Nasir Grant drags into a fifth day, police believe they know who helped them get out. 21-year-old Yanni Stallings was arraigned this morning on a number of charges in connection to the prison break. She's accused of somehow communicating with the inmates leading up to the...
Now, I hate to address the elephant in the room, but again, I'm not an investigator and I'm not investigating this case right here, but I'm going to say this, right? At best, her role in them actually getting away was minimal. It was bare minimum. I mean, even if she's sitting outside the gates with the car running, already in drive, her contribution was bare minimum. Because there's already been reports of the cells being open, the recreation door to the yard being open. The prison wasn't made aware of them being missing until 3 o'clock the next afternoon. And it wasn't until the other prisoners snitched on them and said, yo, Amin and Nasir isn't here. What? But she's the first one to go to jail. How ironic is that? How ironic is that? And why I say it's bare minimum, because even the prisoners, they had to put together the scheme. They had to mysteriously have their cells open. They had to mysteriously have the recreational door open leading to the yard, and they had to cut the gate, and they had to crawl out of there. So her role was lower than theirs. Her contribution was much lower than theirs. But trust me, there's a different person that played a much bigger role in this whole escape. There is somebody that works for that prison. Allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly because we really don't know how it went down, but I believe that there is somebody else out there that's free for now that played a much bigger role in these two guys getting out of prison.
The escape. Sources tell us she was an inmate here for an attempted murder charge until February.
I have word that she actually did try to visit before, but of course she couldn't. She hasn't been out, I believe, 6 months.
David Robinson is the head of the union representing the corrections officers here. He's familiar with Stallings' background and believes she could have met the inmates while behind bars.
It's a strong possibility if they didn't know each other on the streets, they would have never even met each other if they weren't on the same exact side of the jail.
Police say Stallings.
Now, this should tell you all you need to know about the prison system in Philadelphia. She didn't know these dudes from a can of paint outside of this prison. But because she's incarcerated in the same housing unit as these two gentlemen right here, she knew them long enough to plan an escape. Like how are they communicating back and forth like that where they practically know each other? Huh? It's people that she knew all her life that probably can't get her to take out the trash. It's probably people she know her whole life that can't borrow $5 from her, get some gas money, pay her electric bill. It's people that she known all her life that she won't even talk to or open up and be intimate and have an intimate conversation with. But she got so close to these two in prison that she decided to sacrifice her life and freedom for. Like, how much access did they have to each other? Because when I was locked up, they kept us and the women completely separated. I mean, shit. That's all that was missing in jail was some women. You mean to tell me I could be sitting in jail and still have access to a woman, mind, body, and soul? Because that's what that you would think that's what it would take to get a woman to help you escape from prison. You would think that you would have to have complete control of their mind, body, and soul. You would think that you would have to really be in her head to make her want to do something crazy like this. But apparently they was only arrested in the same building for about a couple months. She's been out, but the lines of communication is still open. But at the same time, how were they getting this close to each other in prison? I mean, you can send letters back and forth. You get somebody's PP number and all that. Yeah, you can send letters back and forth. And trust me, a letter in jail, I used to put every single thought into the letters that I was sending out. Every single thought. Some people I had to just be simple and short with, but some people I had to really like get deep with. So yeah, those letters can be deep, and you got to think about somebody else that's in the same position as you. They looking at life the same way. They looking a lot further than the words that's just being put on a piece of paper. So, I mean, I get it. But how do you get that close to somebody else that's in prison?
Stalling communicated with Hurst, who's accused of killing 4 people, and Grant, who's being held on gun and drug charges. I asked Robinson how this could have happened.
They can get it contraband by cell phone. They have the telephone lines inside the institution. Also, they have video tablets. So it's a wide range of communication inside these institutions.
But aren't the phones monitored here?
They should be, yes.
They believe she somehow helped the 2 break out.
He said they should be. Now, again, those calls are being recorded. They're not being monitored. Like they're not paying somebody. They're already short-staffed, right? So they're not going to pay somebody to sit there and listen to every single phone call that's going on. What they do is they record the calls. And in a situation like this, you got 2 inmates that escaped. So now you want to know what they're talking about when they was reaching out. You trying to see who did they call prior to them escaping. And this woman, she came up, and obviously they said something on that phone. That made investigators believe that she was a part of them escaping. That's how that worked. Now he's saying it should be, yeah, of course. You know, you will have to hire more than just one person to listen in on everybody's phone call. You would have to. But that's like out here. Don't believe what y'all watched in The Wire. I mean, they was introducing that technology and that way of investigation to us in the late 90s, early 2000s. But they've been recording people's phone calls. Like they're recording this live stream right here. If there's anything in this live stream that the feds feel as though they need to investigate, they could always go back into the database and listen in for whatever they're listening for. So yeah, when these two guys escaped, they went back to the phone calls. They listened to all the conversations, and yeah, one of those conversations pretty much implicated this lady, Miss Stallings, as to being involved.
Out of the Philadelphia Industrial Correction Center on Sunday night, the two managed to slip out of their cells, cut a hole in the fence, and escape. The prison didn't even notice they were gone until Monday afternoon after 3 head counts. Now, Stalling faces a number of charges, including criminal use of communication and escape. As for Hurst and Grant, they have not been seen since Sunday.
So a lot of things that y'all got to take in. One, the gentleman that was speaking on behalf of the prison. If you're ever arrested in Philadelphia and they send you to State Road, you'll see a lot of prison guards like him. Again, it's not like what you think it is. It isn't a bunch of hillbilly white men controlling those prisons. No, those prisons on State Road are controlled. I'm not saying that they're owned. I'm not saying that they are the designers of it. But those prisons are ran by Black correctional officers, men and women. And they're regular people. Yeah. A lot of times when you go out in the city of Philadelphia, you're partying, you're drinking, you're having a great time with either a police officer or a correctional officer. I mean, I've seen them in bars at the hours. I mean, like, bro, they're regular people, just like each and every one of us. They're blending in all of that. They are on the and it wouldn't be hard to believe that if you go up there, you might see a relative of yours working in a prison, or a childhood friend, or somebody that lives in your neighborhood. It could be your neighbor that works for the prison system. So it's not hard to get in jail and find out that you know somebody on the inside. That's how all the contraband, like cell phones and cigarettes, that's how all that for the most part comes in. It comes in through the corrupt or in pocket prison guards. And trust me, that's going on all over. That's upstate, the feds, all of that, man. It's going on all over. Everybody got a price. Everybody has a price. And that's why, I mean, I live here in this city. Everybody that I know, everybody that I've talked to, everybody that gave an opinion on this, for the most part, believes that this was an inside job. Somebody had to have helped these guys get out of jail. It's just no way. There's no way. I mean, think about this, right? It was 3 different head counts. 3. So you got to think, if they got out around 8 o'clock Sunday night, that means when the overnight shift, the graveyard shift, the 11 to 7, when they came in, and I'm really not sure of the schedules, but I believe that there's 3 different shifts that the correctional officers work off. a AM, a PM, and an overnight. So the overnight count might happen around 11, 12 o'clock when that third shift comes in. They take a head count. They document and log in all the information that they might need to know from one shift to the next shift. There's another head count in between that. Then there's a morning head count. Then there's an afternoon head count. Now, the news is telling y'all that it's only 3 head counts. From 8:30 at night, from 8 o'clock at night till 3 o'clock the next afternoon, they're telling you that there's only 3 head counts. That in itself sounds a little suspect to me, because when I was in the county more than 20 years ago, and they was taking head counts, it felt like every 4 hours. Every time at the lunch, every time at the day room, every time at the lights out, every time before it's time to pop the cell and go to lunch, the shower, like they take counts all the time. But they saying that there's only 3 within an 18-hour span. But whatever, you know, they somehow missed 2 people gone from this prison, maybe between 2 shifts, between an overnight shift and an afternoon shift. And I think the next day PM shift actually caught on to what was going on. So them just arresting Miss Stallings for aiding and abetting these 2 guys getting out of jail, that's a joke in itself. There's no way. She, like I said, her role in it was bare minimum. She probably had the easiest role out of everybody. Just pull up and get in, and we can pull off. But she was the first one caught. Funny thing is, if this was some type of like love affair or, you know, relationship that's going on, nobody got caught with her. Like, you would think somebody that's on the run and you got some help and you romantically like involved with someone, you would think that y'all was trying to escape together. But apparently it wasn't like that. Apparently they caught her, and 6 hours later they caught Nasir. I don't want to assume that Nasir was the one that she was like in heavy contact with, and that was the line that connected the dots between her, him, and Amin. But I mean, it's not a coincidence that he got caught 6 hours after her, practically in the same neighborhood she's from. And they already had the information like, oh yeah, he's going to be garbed up. They actually knew what house he was coming out of. Let me find that video, because that video is interesting also. Because, yeah, they wasn't just going to, you know what I'm saying, like, stop everybody that's garbed up. Like, it would take them literally months, because you'll see that all the time. You'll see that all the time here in Philadelphia. Hold on, let me look this up. I think 29 covered that part of it. Let me see. Let me see here. I mean, this actually got a lot of coverage across the country. This got a lot of coverage. Like, wow. Like, it's everywhere. This story is everywhere. And you know what's crazy? For the most part, people here in Philly, they're really not like just all afraid and locked and stuck in their house because there's an alleged serial killer on the loose that escaped prison. Nah, people just going about it like it's normal. Like, people are really just going about this whole entire story like it's normal. But it's kind of sad that when you accept things, you practically normalize it. We've already accepted the fact that people are going to be dangerous and escaping from prison.
How about this? One of the
Let's check
prisoners
this
who
out.
escaped from prison last Sunday night has now been captured. Steve has more info, and there's a lot of details here over at police headquarters. Steve.
Well, coming out of your Sixers story, let me use a couple of basketball metaphors here. You could say the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, now with one car, can really double team and do a full court press on a mean.
And that was unnecessary. That was completely unnecessary. But this just goes to show you how much the news is just entertainment. They just can't report the story. No, they got to put some bullshit on it with, like, you know, oh, this is like a full court. We didn't need that type of breakdown. Leave that to the professionals. Leave that to the YouTubers.
Hurst, because now their whole focus is on him. And so here are pictures of what happened last night at 10:20 in Strawberry Mansion at 29th and Dolphin Streets. It's a strip mall with a KFC, Stop and Shave, and Rite Aid, and they see him come out of a house, and here is Robert Clark with the Marshal Service telling us that they had a loose tail on him and they were surveilling him in this house, just waiting for him to come out, and listen to what he was wearing when he came out the door.
We were conducting a surveillance operation in an area that we believe Nasir Grant was frequenting, and at about 10:20, 10:25, a male resembling Nasir Grant came out of a residence wearing full female Muslim garb and a head covering. That gentleman piqued our interest. He got into a vehicle. We followed that vehicle over here to the 2800 block of West Dolphin Street, and a felony vehicle stop was conducted. At that time, Grant was taken into custody without incident.
And so after the show yesterday, the first break was the arrest of this woman, right? So they catch Ziani Stalling. She's 21. And remember, the three of us were talking earlier in the week on Tuesday saying there must be some outside help to help them get to the outside.
Frequenting, and at about
Hold on, y'all. I kind of missed it. I was yelling at somebody.
And they see him come out of a house, and here is
I was yelling at my
Robert
kids.
Clark
Hold
with
on.
the Marshal Service telling us that they had a loose tail on him and they were surveilling him in this house, just waiting for him to come out, and listen to what he was wearing when he came out the door.
We were conducting a surveillance operation in an area that we believe Nasir Grant was frequenting, and at about 10:20, 10:25, a male resembling Nasir Grant came out of a residence wearing full female Muslim garb and a head covering. That gentleman
Now, if this was, let me say, early 1990s, I would have said, yeah, you know, that's kind of a good idea, dressing overgarments like another woman. But they have that's been there, done it. I remember they robbed the Brinks truck one time dressed like that. They robbed the Brinks truck dressed. There's a movie out there where you could see them robbing a bank dressed as nuns. I mean, you got people that's go on a run and then they start dressing, they start cross-dressing. So yeah, U.S. Marshals been there, done that. I mean, the most advanced thing they got going on right now is these synthetic masks, and it's crazy because we just did a live stream that YouTube took down. YouTube took that down because we really got deep into the whole deep fake and the mask thing. Like you couldn't even tell who's who out here. I mean, these masks are so well put together that you wouldn't even know that that person is who you're looking for. Like you could really transform yourself into a completely different person just under a mask. They even got the sleeves that go over your hands and halfway down your forearm. So even if you get fingerprinted, yeah, it's not going to come back as the person that's wanted. And how would they know? I'm pretty sure they got full body suits like that too. Yeah, trust me, y'all. Like that live stream we did on the deep fakes and the mat, like, bro, I see why YouTube took it down. I see why people really wouldn't want that type of technology and that type of, you know, creation really broken down the way I did it. But he pretty much used an outdated disguise. He wasn't fooling nobody. When they seen him walk out that door, they knew exactly who it was. And they followed him to a KFC parking lot and arrested him.
Our interest, he got into a vehicle. We followed that vehicle over here to the 2800 block of West Dolphin Street, and a felony vehicle stop was conducted. At that time, Grant was taken into custody without incident.
And so after the show yesterday, the first break was the arrest of this woman, right? So they catch Ziani Stalling. She's 21. And remember, the three of us were talking earlier in the week on Tuesday saying there must be some outside help to help them get to the outside. And we were right. And she was on the outside. And what we learned was she had a phone call. All the calls from the inmates are recorded. They're not listened to live. They're not monitored live. That would be impossible, a source told me. So when they escaped, they had to go back.
So basically, a source already told them what we already know. Like I said, they're not going to sit there and listen to every single phone call. If they find it necessary to go back to a phone call that they got pre-recorded, yeah, we could always just go back and listen. We ain't got to pull it out now. If something come up, let's go and listen.
Track and investigate what's their history, who'd they last talked to, their jail phone calls, and she was one of them. And she happened to be an inmate herself a few times, lastly in February. All right, so they listened to that call, and it gives them information about how they got out and where they may be. And so now Amin Hurst is the focus. He is the more serious of the two, by the way, because he's the accused 4-time killer. And so that is the full court, double team, full court press to catch now, because the other guys that got the other guy last night can now be on the Amin Hurst team as well. And they're telling us we may get him at any time. And remember, we said he could be on Indiana Street or in the state of Indiana. Well, we also said the number one place to go is home. And they caught Mr. Grant 14.2 miles from his prison cell.
Yep.
14.2 miles away from his prison cell. Let me rewind that for a second.
Get him at any time. And remember, we said he could be on Indiana Street or in the state of Indiana. Well, we also said the number one place to go is home. And they caught Mr. Grant 14.2 miles from his prison cell.
Yep. People have a tendency to do that. Go to a home, somebody.
Again, you would think, right? After that brazen escape from prison, that they would have got a lot further, but no, they was only 14.2 miles away from their prison cell. That's how close-minded some people are. They're only going to know somewhere that they're only going to go somewhere that they know. They're not going to explore and venture to other places that's unknown. And for the most part, investigators know that. They know that. They had all the information that they needed on the prison phones. They pretty much got a jacket of where this person resides, where he hangs out, who his friends are, who his family is. Yeah. Y'all think some of those questions that they ask y'all is irrelevant. No. All that matters. What's your mother's maiden name? What city were you born in? What's your next closest relative? Like your last known address. They collect this data basically to connect dots just in case of situations like this. If they got to find you, there's no such a thing as living off of the grid like people think it is. It's really not. There's a paper trail to everybody out here. There's a paper trail. In the prison system, I mean, once you get in the prison system, like I used to wonder why I used to see cats, man, they used to be flipping. Like, man, I can't believe, like, they was only in there probably about 23 hours, not even a whole day. You know, they got arrested on some like that's why, you know, some people that's at certain levels, they don't play that at all. They don't want to be arrested for something they didn't do. They do not want that. They work their whole life to prevent them from ever being in that situation, because they know what it means when you go into that system. You go into that system, you have no more privacy. There's no more, you're under the radar. No. When I was up Glen Mills, I took part of this program called Temple Studies. And I only did it because they was paying us like $50, $75 to do an interview. And that's a couple of dollars when you're in prison. I really wasn't in prison. I was in a boarding school. Glen Mills was a boarding school. But at the end of the day, I said, why not? I got to see it. They sent this pretty young Temple student up there. So I got to interact with her. She dug into my business a little bit. But here's the thing. I got out of Glen Mills in 2002. I was 17 years old. Every year from 17 to about 26, somebody from Temple University was trying to reach out to me and do an interview. I think I did it up until I was about, I don't know, like 25. By the time I turned 26, I started questioning, like, yo, why are y'all still even here trying to talk to me? Like, what information are y'all looking for? What do y'all want? You know, and that's when the interview suddenly stopped after that. Once I started questioning what they were doing and what they were like, what type of case study it was, it stopped. And I would ask questions like, so how many other students are you like studying? Like, who else is, what's going on? I've heard stories where they was interviewing cats that started in juvenile facilities, and now 3 years after they released from that juvenile facility, the lady told me she was interviewing people in adult prisons and state penitentiaries, federal penitentiaries. And Temple, the University of Temple, was paying all expenses. The one lady said she had to go to Texas to visit one of her studies in a federal penitentiary because, of course, he caught his case here in Philly, but he went all the way to Texas. He was being housed in Texas. And this is like, you know, this is something that she's doing for the university. I don't know if it's for extra credit or is it for, you know, something for her to get her degree. I don't know. But during her tenure at Temple, she had to interview a bunch of juvenile kids that signed up to be a part of this. You know what? I think when I get off this live stream, I'm actually going to do some research on Temple studies in juvenile jails. Like, what was the purpose of it? Because I swear, the minute I really start questioning them, and like, I don't know, I guess I started, you know, being a little bit more mature and wanting to know things and really trying to observe, like, yo, what's going on here? Like, y'all been talking to me since I was 17 years old. What's the outcome here? Are you trying to solve a problem? Or are you really trying to make sure that kids like myself don't end up in places like where you met me? Like, what? And then everything just stopped. And when I tell you that they used to be pressed to find me, listen, I left Glen Mills in 2002. I was in adult prison by the spring of 2003. And the funny thing is, they found me up there. She came up there and said, hey, you know, what happened? You know, of course, she sounded like she was concerned. Like, you just left Glen Mills. I thought you was going to do better. You know, giving you all the, I kind of care about what's going on with you bullshit. But they found me up there. I moved out of my mom's house when I got out of the county. And they found me at my first girlfriend's house. I got married at 21 years old. Me and my first wife, we moved into a house out Southwest Philly. They found me out there. My marriage only lasted about 2.5, 3 years. I moved out of her house. I went and got my own apartment in West Philly, and they found me out there. And after that, that's when I started saying, what are y'all doing here? Like, what? Why do y'all keep trying to find me? At least once a year, at least once out of every calendar year, a student from Temple University will come talk to me. And for the first like 4 or 5 years, it was the same young lady. But then the last 2 years of it, well, the last few years of it, it was a different student. You know, the first lady, she didn't graduated, she didn't moved on. And she told me too, she said, yeah, this is going to be our last interview. I'm moving to Boston. Yeah, you know, I'm graduating this year. I'm moving to Boston. And then I guess a freshman student came in, and this said, trust me, Temple Studies, there's a lot of kids in Philadelphia that was a part of that program. I know I know that. I'm 110% sure about that because I knew other people that was in that program. But they would pay you once a year to interview you. Once a year, they would come out and interview kids that were previously placed in juvenile facilities. And from what I understand, I never got a real clear answer as to what the goal was or what was really behind the Temple Studies. You know, she would act oblivious, like, oh, you know, I just collect the data, I turn it in, and I don't know what they're doing with it. That's some higher up, some psychologists and therapists or something. But it took, I think I scared the one lady too. The one, yeah, and they always send a pretty Caucasian woman. That's the funny thing. They always sent, and she always had the same type demeanor. She seemed concerned about young black men in America. It seemed to like she wanted to actually help without saying, what could I do? Because they never said that. I never heard one time one of these students say, well, what could I do to help young black men in America? That never came out their mouth. But they always had that demeanor like, oh, this is so crazy. I mean, we would actually go into deep conversations, like completely stop the interview and get into real deep conversations about our thoughts. And they would share their thoughts with me. I don't know if they were real or were they just a facade, but we would have these conversations. And that's what it would always lead to. It would always lead to that. You know, and then, you know, they shake your hand and they wish you luck. And they wish you luck. I still remember the young lady name. Of course, I'm not going to say it on the air, but I still remember her name. The one that started out and I saw for like 4 or 5 years straight. I still remember her name. One time I met her in a McDonald's on 61st and Woodland, and she interviewed me in McDonald's. I mean, like that's how deep it was for them to come out and interview people like me. Like they didn't care. And like, we could do the interview in the library. You can come sit in my front seat of my car. You know, they'll pull their laptop out and they just get to typing, ask you questions and get to typing. Once the interview's over, they pass you the money and they're gone. And they were Temple students. Unbelievable. But the prison system is it's all connected. When they talk about the prison, the school, the prison pipeline, that's real. It's real. It's so real. I mean, for the most part, the goal really was to train people to become factory workers with the whole school system or whatnot. Sorry about that. I'm fighting a small cold. This weather out here is crazy. One day it's beautiful. Next day it's a little windy. So it's starting to affect me. But yeah. The school, it's like the school system really like was training you and preparing you to become a factory worker. You know, the 15-minute recess, then a half-hour lunch, and then a other 15-minute recess after lunch. Like, it sounds familiar, right? For the most part, you're entitled to 2 15-minute breaks and 1 half-hour break. Just like elementary school, right? 5 to 8 hours somewhere you don't want to be, but you, for whatever reason, you got to do it. Yeah, like it was prepping you. It was prepping you to become a factory worker, because I learned most of the stuff I learned in life is off experience. It's not off of what I've learned in school. Things that I've really been passionate about, I've done my own independent research on it. I independently studied how to get my CDL, my carpenter certificate, my forklift operator. You know, I did all that on my own. But as far as like things that you learned in school, what did you really learn in school? If you went to public school in the inner city, you develop some social skills. I tell you that. You learn how to deal with people, because you know people come in all kinds of characters. Oh my God! Just like school, just like elementary, junior high, and high school, people come in all kinds of ways at you. You got your over like energized people. Like that's like the only thing that you could really take from public school, especially here in Philly, is the social part. You learn how to blend. Like, why you don't see people like really tripping when they see people like on the train acting crazy. Like that stuff I saw in New York, that's crazy. That's crazy. That happens all the time here in Philly. A cat come on the train and just start wilding out. He just start acting crazy, but he know not to get too close to nobody. He know not to. He know how far to take it. And for the most part, they just acting crazy to themselves. Now, I've seen situations where people took things too far and it got ugly. But man, that stuff in New York got real ugly. I would really like to hear the whole part of that story. I would really like to hear the whole part of that story, because I could see a situation, and I'm just being honest. I could definitely see a situation where people had to put hands on somebody, because it could get this. I was on the L. I used to take the L train back when I was working downtown Philly. I was real young too. I was like 22 years old. And I used to take it every day, man. I used to see some of the wildest stuff on that subway train. People getting spit on, kids getting out of school, just no respect for adults. It's just crazy. No respect. It's almost like you have to be ratchet in order to, you got to have that ratchet side to you. I always say there's got to be balance, because I understand balance now as a 40-year-old man. I understand that, no, you ain't got to be evil all the time, but you got to embrace your evil side. You cannot be peaceful all the time. People will try to take advantage of you. You can't be nice all the time. People will take your kindness for weakness. There's a time and a place where you got to be just as evil, or you got to kill them with kindness. But when you can actually can control your bad side, when you can control your bad side, and once you embrace it and know that it's there and control it, that's like the ultimate definition of self-control. I know nice guys that lost it, that just snapped, threw their whole life away. I know people like that. They really wasn't about, the drama. They really wasn't about the ratchetness. But they got tired of people trying to take their kindness for weak. They got tired of that shit and they just snapped. But if they had control of that side of them, they would have been just fine. They would have been just fine. They would have known exactly how to deal with people and when and how to use that other side. How to be calculated. You got to embrace it. That's what I've learned. You got to know how to embrace. You got to know how to channel it. And some people, they don't know how to do that here. That's why he's like, man, like, how did he get caught up in something like that, man? He ain't got no self-control. He ain't got no self-control. Even the situation with these prisoners, man, 16 years old. Now, well, right now he's 18. Amin Hurst is 18 years old. So think about this. In 18 years of this man's lifetime, he's managed to, like I said, allegedly kill 4 people. That's the only people we know about. There's possibly more people that was victims of this kid. The investigation just hasn't led, the police to him yet. But there's a possibility if what they're alleging is true, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more. But again, that's only if this is really the person that the media is telling us he is. And now he's managed to escape. There's some of the meanest, toughest, roughest cats that never managed to get out of prison. I know they never managed to escape. They never even thought about it. And we all know, all right, yeah, y'all allege that he had somebody on the outside, but what's more important, the person on the outside helping you or the person on the inside is helping you? Come on now. Like I said, Miss Stallings, she played a minimum role. Her role was bare minimum. That she played she had the easy part. There's somebody, in my opinion, on the inside that helped them out. That's what it all boils down to. They talking about we kind of figured somebody on the outside helped them. No. That's only going to lead you to somebody like a Miss Stallings. Like, she ain't got no real power. She ain't got no real authority over nothing. She's just a casualty of war. She's just the blood that could be shed. The fall guy. The person that's going to fall on the sword. That's all she is, ultimately. Tell me the person with the real power that helped them get out. The person that controls that button that opens and closes these cells. The person that got the key on their hip that turns the rec door from being locked to being open. That's where the real power in the situation is. It ain't with that young lady that was sitting outside the prison with the car running. No. But for whatever the case may be, this 18-year-old kid, right? And I'm not saying that he was the mastermind behind this, because it could have been Nasir Grant, but Nasir Grant's caught. So obviously, this kid Hurst, he's been elusive enough to stay out there at least so far about 12 to 14 hours longer than him. But again, I'm not saying that he's the mastermind of it. I'm just saying, like, wow, at 18 years old, you've already done all of this in your lifetime. And when I tell you, see, this the crazy thing. This is the crazy thing. The bid, if you get caught, once you get like this kid Nasir Grant, he got caught. Like I said, I don't even understand why he only lasted 2 nights. He had a gun and a drug charge. Trust me, he was looking at some serious time. But the time he's looking at now, that time is going to be hard. That's going to be some hard time. See, he's not going to have the luxury of 3-day rooms, at least 3 to 4 times of availability to use the phone, a 2-man cell, a job, a actual program in jail. No, he's going to be in a lot of solitary confinement. Nasir Grant is in for a lot of solitary confinement from here on out. That's in the county. If he's found guilty and goes upstate, if he goes to the feds, he's going to have a lot of solitary confinement. He's not going to be knee deep in population, nowhere. Because he's already shown the ability to escape captivity. So yeah, he's going to have to go to a maximum security prison, probably like a super maximum. Now he's not in the Fed, so I don't think he's going to go to ADX or anything. But yeah, he's going to be, his bid is going to be rough. He's not going to have a lot of human communication, nothing. He's going to be isolated from a lot of stuff from here on out. And trust me, prison is rough enough. Even when that's in the same situation you in, it's rough enough. Imagine being in it and it feels like you're all alone. No one to talk to, no one to turn to. That's going to be the rest of his bids now, moving forward. Even if he beat his drug case, even if he beat his gun case, he still got an escape charge now. If that's the only thing that he's going to be found guilty of and actually have to serve time for, it's going to be hard time. Hard time. And the thing is, he might have had a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel if he would have just stayed put. For this thing out, took his time on the chin, and came home a better man than he did walking in there. Amin Hurst, hey, listen, he had 4 bodies over his head. Maybe 40 years from now, 30 probably. If he's lucky, 30 years from now, some crazy and wild, overthinking politician or movement would have been like, he was only 16 when he did this, and he really didn't know what he was doing. He was manipulated a little bit. He didn't have the right parents. He ain't had the right upbringing. All that good stuff that they talk about when they want to make you the agenda. All that good stuff they want to talk about when they make you the agenda. Somebody would have came to his rescue, and he probably would have seen light at that. But it would have been so long. I mean, he would have definitely came out a different person. Definitely. Like, he probably would have been down like 40 to 50 more years. And he's a young man too, and they're going to get every single day out of him. Every single day. 16, by the time you got 30 years in it, he's 46 years old. That means he's serving more time than he's actually been alive and on the streets. Because he's only been alive and on the streets for 16 years of his life. I gotta imagine that at least 8 years of his life, he was being raised by his mother, being housed and clothed, sheltered and taken care of by his mother or father. I gotta at least assume that. I can't just sit here and say, damn, he must have lived a rough 16 years of his life. I'm not going to think that somebody did that to their family. No, I would say that he, experienced some sort of life in his 16 years. But I mean, the rest of his life was looking real dark. And if they catch him, oh my God, they're gonna try to break him at every day of his natural life. From here on out, if they capture him, they're gonna try to break him. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, I could see why he was probably eager to get out of there. He wanted to give himself at least a shot. But he kind of blew his opportunities. I mean, if what he's alleged to have done prior to him being arrested, then yeah, he ain't got nobody to blame but himself. But my God, bro, listen. What was it? What was going on? them temple studies, that temple study program is a failure. If you ask me, y'all was paying people, interviewing people, trying to figure out what's going on with young black men in America, and here I am 20 years later, and I'm hearing news like this. Yeah, that temple studies, that's a failure. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's working just as planned. We'll never know until we know exactly what temple studies was. But man, like I said, this is an interesting story right here. Interesting story right here. Anybody that's ever been arrested or sent to prison, it's no way that you could take this story at face value and say, yeah, it was just two people that came up with a way to get out of jail and they masterminded. Nah, it's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper. And maybe one day we'll know. Maybe not, but I just got to use my common sense. My common sense about the situation and think that, yeah, this guy, this whole thing just don't sound right. So I'm gonna drop the link, right? I don't know. We got like 3 or 4 people in the building. Anybody want to come up and chop it up or get a opinion, you could do so. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out and begin to enjoy my weekend. It's gonna be a beautiful day here in Philly. Beautiful day here in Philly. Shoot. I hear it's gonna rain tomorrow night, so we gotta see what happens. But the link is pinned. I'll give it about like 2 or 3 more minutes. If anybody want to hop up here and give their opinion on the prison break or anything here in Philly, I'm born and raised here in this city, and I don't like talking about my experiences in jail and boarding school and the legal system because I don't want to glorify it. Even when I put the content up that I do, for the most part, I'm really trying to educate people on how easy it is to get yourself caught up in the system. It's really hard. It's really, 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 really hard to get yourself out of trouble once you get yourself in it. It's really hard, man. It's an uphill battle. And it's crazy because a lot of people really don't get the knowledge or the understanding, because when I got caught up, my first couple of times getting caught up and put in prison and going to boarding schools, youth study centers, all that, I thought it was one big joke. I took my freedom for granted. I didn't think that a felony on my record could really hurt what I wanted to do, because I really didn't want to do too much. I just want simple things. I've been a simple person all my life. Family, kids, not too big on luxurious things, but at the end of the day, why not? Why not? But it all actually starts with the freedom. It all starts with the freedom that you have, and it gives you an opportunity to do things that you want. But without, just your basic freedom, your basic right to freedom, it's dark. It's really dark. But with it, skies is the limit. If you got the freedom and the means, the resources, the will, and the drive, you could actually do a lot more than what you think. You really could, but some people don't get opportunities. Some people think that they're never going to be anything more than what or how they see themselves today. And I get it, because growing up poor or in a rough neighborhood or just in a rough environment, you could lose hope real fast. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out here that's living a life that ain't no hope for you. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you always got to play the hand that you dealt. Play the hand that you dealt. I'm a decent poker player, so I understand that quote. I really do. I understand that quote. I done bluff my way out of some danger with 4-5 offsuit. You know what I'm saying? I got a 5-8 offsuit. Ain't nothing connecting. I ain't hit the board. Nothing. I ain't got that, man. Listen, I'm out to bluff. I'm out to bet. I'm all in. Just to test the cat and see if he's willing to part ways with his money, not knowing what's on the other end of that table. I haven't been in those situations too many times playing poker. So I know sometimes you just got to play the hand that you dealt. But it's too many of us. It's too many of us. They're just throwing everything away. It's like it's no purpose. And if one person, I don't like to, have somebody like set as an example, but unfortunately in life, that's how things work. One person messes it up for everybody. One person can mess it up for everybody. So if they're going to continue to see young black men, just being terrorists and menace to societies out here, they're going to think that all of them are like that. And that's not the case. That's not the case. I mean, there's a lot of, crazy and really messed up people that come in all races, all different ethnicities and backgrounds. But, black kids are going to get judged on a perception that's being sold to them, stereotypes, all that. So why keep giving that to them? We really got to switch this whole thing around. We really do. We got to really turn the tables on this and try to steer this thing in the right direction. But that's what we're going to continue to do on this channel. That's what we're going to continue to do on this channel right here. I'm about to get on out of here. I appreciate everybody that came through, stopped, liked the video. If you like the content and you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, man. Share the live. Share the information also. Share the information. Continue to support the channel. I appreciate everybody that watches my content and values my opinion. So, like I said, I'm not a greedy person. I like the simple things. And if it's just something simple like liking the video or just viewing the video, I'm satisfied. But yeah, man, make sure y'all continue to come on and support the content, because I'm dropping content like this on a daily basis, y'all. I'm gonna get on out of here. I want everybody to have a blessed Friday night, a blessed weekend. Until next time, peace.